So my day started out just west of Indianapolis. Let's backtrack here. So this is Sunday the 23rd. On Friday, late in the afternoon, about 3 o'clock, I got a call on a load coming out of Michigan going to Kansas. It was late, so I said, yep, I'll do it. It's 11.1 wide. The dimensions that I was given weren't great. I tried to contact the shipper to confirm those, mainly to find out what kind of tarps that I needed to bring. That was a failure. It's a regular agent, but not a regular customer, so I didn't have the contact details for the customer that I'd normally pick up the phone and say, hey, what are we loading? What am I going to need to bring? Go from there. So I was scrambling late on Friday, ordered the permits for the load at 11.4 wide, just a little bit more to just to make sure if there was any anomalies, and got the stuff together on Saturday morning with the truck and the trailer and left the house. It's 800 miles from my house to the shipper, then 1,100 odd miles to the receiver, and then a couple of hundred miles. So 2,000 miles. It's $6,500 for the truck. It's not great, but it's servicing the customer. So away I go. So I got to west of Indianapolis last night on Saturday, and parked up at the rest area, and then got up in the morning and proceeded north to the shipper in Michigan. Had about 300 and something miles to go, and we started having problems a little north of Indianapolis with that stutter in the truck, and that misfire kind of feeling like an injector was going out. So I thought about it and called Ed Baker. He's older than me and been doing this a lot longer, and said, well, what do you think about if I just keep trying to limp it along? Can I grab the load and maybe limp it down to the receiver? And he said, yeah, probably not a good idea. So I made a quick call and to the agent. It was kind of early in the morning, so on a Sunday, and made the call to abandon on the load and let them start to find another truck for the load. So take care of that responsibility to begin with. So I turned around and started heading back south towards the house. My idea was that I was going to limp the truck and trailer home with a bad injector. Called my mechanic on after I turned around and started heading home, and he said, yep, probably bad injector, and advised that I get out with a temperature gun if I had one, which I do, and shoot the 1 and 6, 3 and 5, 2 and 4, and compare the temperatures. So closest to the firewall, whether that's 1 or 6, I believe it's 6-cylinder, was showing about 150 degrees on the exhaust manifold side, when all other cylinders were showing 200 to 220. So pretty obviously that cylinder is not firing or producing heat. So with the help of a digital thermometer gun here, you can see it points to two triggers on there. You would go and shoot the cylinders where you can find them. So we've got about, on the exhaust manifold side, about 89 degrees there, 120 there, 106, 108 there, 98 there. So that's been turned off for a little while, but when it was running, I came out and shot those temperatures, and this rear one here was running about 150, 160 degrees, whereas all the other ones were running 210, 220. So my assumption that my mechanic gave me the information to get out and check was probably correct, and it's that rear cylinder that has a dead injector, because there's just no heat coming out of that cylinder. So buy yourself one of these off wherever you can find them, and great for checking hub temps and pyro temps, and use it as a rectal thermometer. I really don't care what you use it for, but I kind of find it handy. Worst fears confirmed, or we've diagnosed the problem. Now it's how far I can get it. So I called. He gave me the number to a local wrecker, and I called them and said, "Can you come and grab truck and trailer if I can limp it back as far as I can?" He said, "Problem, we can't do truck and trailer across state lines." He said, "If you can get it back into St. Louis, then we can pull truck and trailer." I'm not aware of the regulations when it comes to wreckers towing, but I guess it's length and multiple units and whatever. I'm empty, obviously, so weight's not the issue. But so I said, okay, I'll try and make it as far as I can. Well, I got back down to Indy, and things were just getting worse, struggling to maintain 55 mile an hour, even just on a very slight overpass, and lots of gearing down, and it wasn't fueling or firing even on the other 5 cylinders very well. Stopped into a TA closer to Indianapolis and asked the shop, do they handle engine repairs? I thought maybe putting an injector in it out on the road, and they said no, we just kind of handle light service. So my options were that I could have dropped into a dealership, I guess, and waited until Monday to find out they couldn't get me in until Wednesday, maybe parts availability problems until, who knows, it could have been down here for 7 or 10 days. So right or wrong, I pulled the trigger on I need to get the truck and trailer back home, because like I said, I'd bought all my tarps with me, $3,000 worth of tarps. I don't want it sitting on a trailer in the middle of a truck stop or wherever, because I've already been ripped off in the past before. So I really need to get this thing home, no matter, unfortunately, what the cost, and I have to start pestering some people. So next call was to Russ Francis at Wore Out, and said, "Hey man, what are you doing?" And he said, "I got a load tomorrow." So he started racking his brains, even tried to find another driver to cover his load so he could come and help me out. I didn't want to bother him. Called a neighbor. He was like, pretty much everybody was out of pocket and busy. These things don't plan themselves, and you can extend you can ask people to help you out, but at the end of the day, if no one's available, then no one's available. So I got here to Brazil, Indiana at the Petro, and parked the truck and called the towing company in Carthage, Missouri, Schrader's Towing. They're coming out to pick up the tractor only. I called at Black Label off TTR, and he's coming out to grab the trailer. He'll be here sometime in the middle of the night. He doesn't have a passenger seat in his truck, so he initially, I asked, can I catch a ride back with you? So no, that's not happening. So I asked Schrader, the towing company, can I catch a ride back with the towing company in the truck as they're towing it back? And he said, no, we've had problems with COVID and the Rona, and our drivers getting sick and being in and out of work from contracting the virus from other drivers that they've taken in, so riding back with them is not an option. I says, okay, I'll figure out for a rental car. So I'm about 15 miles away from Terre Haute, Indiana. So I start calling the car rental companies, which is Sunday, so they're not open. So you get the call centers, which are out of country, and you're not quite sure whether they're telling you the truth or not. But I'm being told by Enterprise that they're not going to do one-way rental to drop it off in Joplin or Springfield. Got hold of Hertz again out of the country in India. They said yes, they can do it, but we can't come out and pick you up. And the closest place is Bloomington, Indiana. So I'm kind of stuck for a ride, because once my trailer leaves out of here and once the truck leaves out of here, I'm going to be sitting in that Petro with a couple of bags looking like a homeless truck driver. So luckily, the guy that is coming to get my trailer can stuff me in the back of his truck, and we can make that happen. So at least I don't have to find a rental. Before that happened, I called The guy that I bought my step deck trailer off, the step deck extendable in Indianapolis, and said, "Hey man, look, I'm sorry to bother you, but if you ain't got nothing doing tomorrow, could you come and play taxi service to me, at least just to get me to a rental car company?" He's bought a small plane and learned to fly. He says, "Man, if it was another couple of months from now, I could have just picked you up in the plane and flew you to Joplin or Springfield, and man, wouldn't that have been a great story?" But he's not authorised to carry passengers right now, and his plane's in the shop. A truck driver, and his plane's in the shop. A truck driver that has a plane in the shop. Anyway, so here we are in Brazil, Indiana, waiting on other people to come and rescue me, and thanks for everybody that's helped so far. Hopefully I'll be back home at some stage tomorrow. I would have asked my wife to come out and get me, but she's taking care of her elderly father at the house who's had health problems, so that's not an option. A couple of friends that I thought of, but we're talking a 900-mile round trip to come and save me from things that I could have prevented myself. Things that I could have prevented myself was the fact that I had a feeling that there was something going on with those injectors. I wrote it off to the cold weather, and once it warmed up to temperature, it was running fine. So that was problem number one, is trucks don't fix themselves, and I should know that by now. I'd mentioned this to my wife, problem number two, and she said, well, you better get that sorted out, and I didn't do anything about it because I thought it was just the cold weather that was making it run a little rough. I mean, we're talking like 25 degree, 30 degree cold starts, and it's not running right. But when it warms up, it's fine. The other problem was I'd stopped tracking my fuel mileage about 6 months ago. This thing gets 6.25 miles to the gallon, and I just noticed on trips in the winter time that it was struggling to get 6 miles to the gallon. But oftentimes in the winter with winter fuel, the denser air, more wind, of course I haul oversized loads anyway, so there's a lot of drag, so I expect to see the fuel mileage drop in that time. Had I been tracking it more closely, I could have reviewed it to the year previous and the year previous before to find out that it was getting bad fuel mileage, and probably about time to change injectors, or at least look into the problem. Yet another strike against me is that I didn't have any record of the injectors being changed since I got the truck, and I've had it for 300 and something thousand miles now. I think they were replaced at the rebuild, which has to be about 500,000 miles ago now. So typically injectors only last 600, 700,000 miles at most and need to be replaced. So shame on me for not reviewing my own maintenance records. Spent a lot of money on this truck in the 3 years that I've owned it, and it's all been preventive maintenance, which is done at the shop, a 50-mile round trip from the house, taken care of at a reasonable rate. Any screw ups are covered if their work doesn't hold up. And instead of doing that and having taken it to the shop and just said, hey, change all 6 injectors out and let's go, or have a look at the fuel pump or whatever, I kind of ignored things, and here I am, 450 miles from the house. It's going to cost me, I'm going to pay the guy coming to get my trailer probably close to $3,000. The wrecker coming to get the truck is probably close to $3,000. I imagine a set of 6 injectors and whatever else work needs to be done is $4,000. So 3 and 4, there's 10 grand. We lost $7,000 in revenue on the load that I've failed to complete. I feel embarrassed because I know it's a breakdown, and breakdowns happen, but it was preventable, I think, from my end. So I feel like I've embarrassed the customer and my agent, even though they have the load covered again, which is good. So yeah, it's an expensive lesson. and I could have handled it better. So bad me and bad day trucking. However, to put it in perspective, I've had 7 years where this thing has never been on a hook. This or the truck that I sold to Dave Zimmerman, due to spending a lot of money in preventive maintenance to make sure it stays on the road. It could be worse. I could have been under that load, under the wide load, or had it been wider, had escorts and had to pay escorts and repower. That's a real headache if you have an oversized load that you have to repower, being stuck on the side of the road somewhere. Just like I say, I'm disappointed in myself, and that's trucking. Also want to add here, it's a good idea as you go through life and business to just be on the right side of things and do well by people and help out where you can, because you never know when you're going to have to maybe ask for a return favor or be forced into that position. So thankfully today, being a Sunday, from early in the morning till mid-afternoon, everybody that I called that I thought I could rely on answered the phone first ring and were available to help out or try and find a solution or help work through the problem. It's a cold, hard world out here, especially trucking. If you think you're gonna burn all your bridges, get the most amount of money when you can, gouge everybody, or be a cheapskate, though I haven't had to rely on too many people thus far in the career, this is certainly one time that I'm glad that I've done right by as many people as I can, and they were willing to turn around and, if not be able to help me, at least offer some advice or contacts or whatever. So there's that too. So here we are, ready for the morning. I dropped the trailer and parked the truck next to it. Very sorry for the inconvenience to other drivers that have to come in here, but today's a special, unfortunate day, and when my rescue driver for the trailer gets here, he can bobtail back under that, and the wrecker will be here in the morning. I'll turn this around so he can hook up to it. He'll drag it backwards and take it for a 500-mile trip to my mechanic. Messy, simple injector job. It's terrible. Apologies for the lack of the truck background. The duty old Dodge will have to do. Update as of Thursday, the 27th, I believe. Truck is in the shop, injectors have arrived, everything's apart and going back together. Best case scenario, it'll be ready to go tomorrow afternoon. Worst case scenario, sometime on Monday. The wrecker was a little bit late on pickup supposed to be there on Monday. They had a breakdown. Apparently had a blowout, or the driver had to sleep, but whatever. It wasn't there on Monday 9 o'clock in the morning, as they told me. Maybe 3 o'clock in the afternoon they had it hooked up, and on the way back to southwest Missouri, I was pinging the truck location, and overnight on Monday it seemed fine, and then I saw it stuck in Sullivan. They had clogged fuel filters on their wrecker and had to send another wrecker up to get the wrecker to get the wrecked truck. This is wrecked vehicle. But they got it all together and got it back to Garner's Diesel about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It was very cold, 20 degrees. So I went down and cleaned out the truck and started it up and put it inside the shop so they could start working on it. And so we should be running here fairly shortly. Haven't got another load booked for it. You don't want to do that if your truck's down, is to go ahead and book loads because you think the repairs are going to be completed at the time that they say they're going to be completed. My mechanic had the injectors sent from Memphis with a bit of added freight charge to make sure they weren't delayed. So everything worked out well. About $7,000 down or so, but first breakdown in 7 years, and I hope this helps anybody looking to get into the industry for an idea of what happens when you break down on the road. Certainly wasn't something I planned for, something I could have prevented in afterthought. Keep the shiny side up. Thanks for watching.